We're good? We're live? Okay.
We're live.
We'll bring the meeting to order. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. Was moved by Councillor McCann and seconded by Councillor Borneman that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of Town of Parry Sound moved to meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to A, the security of property for a municipal or local board national broadcast event. C, a proposed or pending acquisition of land for municipal or local board purposes, waterfront property. And D, labor relations or employee negotiations, contract for CAO employment position, and union negotiations, and that was carried. Are there any additions or prioritization of the agenda? Ms. Box.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add two pieces of correspondence that have to do with the public meeting tonight. A letter from the Douglases, 20 Albert Street, and a letter from the Vandervalks at 18 Albert Street. So I'll add those to the agenda.
Okay, very good. Any further mover and seconder for the agenda? Councillor McCann, Councillor Saunier, that the council agenda for July 17th, 2018 be approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Okay. May I? Yes, so we'll start with this. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to take a few minutes to hold a public meeting to hear any interested persons with regard to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment under Section 34 of the Planning Act. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the meeting? Councillor Borneman, Councillor Keith. That we do now adjourn the regular meeting and declare the public meeting open. All in favor? That's carried. Ms. Boggs, can you explain how the public was notified of the application Z/18/05 24 Albert Street, Jackson, on behalf of Moore?
Notice was given by prepaid first-class mail to the required prescribed agencies and property owners within 120 meters. It was posted on the property and was placed on the town website.
Thank you. Mr. Elgie, can you explain the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment?
Certainly. The applicant has requested relief from the R2 zone to permit 2 new residential units for a total of 4 and permit 5 parking spaces in the front yard where only 3 are permitted. The property is known as 24 Albert Street, or described as part of Lot 3 on the east side of Albert Street on Plan 104 or 105, or Part 5 of 42R 9595.
Okay, thank you. So, at this time, does anyone wish to speak in favor of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? If so, please identify yourself by name and give your address. Well, that's pretty obvious that nobody's speaking at this time. So does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? And again, you identify yourself by name or give your address. So, okay. Mr. Elgie, have there been any letters received as a result of the notice?
Yes, we've received 2 letters. The first letter received from Peter and Donna Vandervalk of 18 Albert Street have concerns about this application. They note that there are currently 8 rental units on the street. Lots 9 and 11 are zoned for commercial, and lots 3 and 5 have also been zoned this way. They do not feel in the best interest of the long-term residents who bring stability and value to the neighborhood. They purchased their home on Albert Street as it's an R2 neighborhood, and they want to see it kept that way. And they ask for council's consideration not to approve the above zoning bylaw amendment. The second letter received on July 17th was from Robert and Marilyn Douglas. They also note there's a number of commercial rental properties on the street. That lots 3 and 5 have been zoned commercial, not developed. They do not feel the rezoning of this property would benefit the long-term residences of the street. It would decrease the value of the properties. and that the R2 zone should remain unchanged, and request that council turn down the proposed amendment. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Council at its discretion may approve the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If so, it must either circulate notice of passing of the bylaw or give notice in the local press. Objections to the passing of the bylaw will be received by the clerk within 20 days from the date of such notice is given, which objections will be forwarded to the local planning appeal tribunal. If an appeal is submitted and the appellant has not provided council with an oral or written submission before the passing of the bylaw, the local planning appeal tribunal may choose to dismiss the appeal. Thank you, and may I have a mover and seconder for Councillor McCann, Councillor Marshall, that we do now declare the public meeting closed. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, back with the regular agenda. Let's see here. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? Councillor McCann and Councillor Keith. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 3rd, 2018 be approved as circulated. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Saunier.
Mr. Brown, we've been working and testing the fogging machine, that is to track stormwater and where it goes and how it hooks up from the houses to the streets. How has that been going?
Through your worship, we did some extensive testing off-grid, shall we say, in different areas that weren't connected. The most recent one that we did was Prospect Street and Georgian Bay Avenue. It was very successful. It went smoothly, very quickly. We didn't have any problems with the public. We notified all the EMS as well as fire to make sure that they were aware. It was a very productive day as far as looking at that particular location. Having said that, we'll be moving to another location on Friday of this week. We'll be doing Wabeek Street, Baycrest, Wood, in that area there. And once that's done, we'll probably be doing that in about 2 or 3 hours. Once that's done, then we'll move to another location next week. So it's been very successful in the initial stages. We are doing a public notification, hand delivering the notices to the residents to make sure that they're aware of it. So we are starting that ball rolling. We're going to be hiring a part-time person to assist us to ensure that the work is continual. I would like to see the whole town fog tested within 2 months. I'm confident that we can do it. So it's going well, and I think it will be very telling what we find.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Borneman?
Yes, for Mr. Menz, back at budget time, we allotted some money for Love Your Block program. I assume the money's been dispersed. Did we have any feedback as to what was actually accomplished through that program, Mr. Menz?
Sure, through Mr. Mayor. There were 3 applications, 2 were projects. One was an event, total value was $4,200. One project, which was the through RISE, it was the ramp what's called the stopgap ramp project, where there were temporary ramps at local businesses that were installed for to make the businesses more accessible. So that's been completed quite successfully. The other was a Middle Eastern dinner hosted by GBBR, and it was to raise awareness and funds for the community kitchens through the Mary Street Center, I guess it's called. The third project, which is the James Street cleanup by 2 of the, I guess call them merchants, representatives of occupants of the buildings there. It hasn't been undertaken yet, so it's we're trying to find out what their plans are. Of course, now we're in the middle of summer, you know, they're busy, so we'll get a handle on where that is.
Okay. No, we're good. Any more questions? No, seeing none. Okay, correspondence, Ms. Box. fish for it.
Sorry for the delay. Few pieces of correspondence this evening. The first one is from Stephen Covey. He's the Chief of Police and Chief Security Officer for CN Rail. And they are making a request for a resolution from Council to declare September 23rd to 29th, 2018, Rail Safety Week. That was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the clerk for inclusion on the consent agenda, and it's on tonight's agenda. A letter from Chris Bettinger, co-founder of Trestle Brewing Company. He wrote a letter of request for wayfinding signs for the brewery within the town of Parry Sound. Mr. Este responded, and the response is included in the agenda as well. It was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the CBO for follow-up, and the response is attached. And the next two pieces were our usual AMO watch files that we get weekly, one from June 28th and one from July 5th. And they were circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for inclusion on the agenda. And that's it.
Good, thank you. I don't see any deputations tonight, so we'll go to Mayor and Councilor's reports, and we'll start with Councilor Keith tonight.
Well, I think this is one of a miracle. I have really nothing to report tonight, so thank you, folks.
Thank you. Councilor Marshall.
Well, I'm embarrassed because I think my report's going to be even shorter. I've had no committee meetings for the last 2 weeks. I've been enjoying the sun, enjoying the water, and working. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Borneman.
Mine will also be quick, not quite that quick. July 4th, Councillor Keith and I did go to a Committee of Adjustment meeting. There was one application which was approved. I want to remind people Art in the Park is on this weekend coming. Get out and support all those local artisans. And for all those Chris Lee fans in Parry Sound, he's at the MacTier Station store this Saturday between 11 and 1 to take photos and sign autographs. So get down there and say hello to an Olympian. And that's my report,
Great.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council and staff, people watching here and at home. Park to Park Trail Association on Thursday, July 5th, attended the Trail Association Quarterly Board meeting. This one was in Sprucedale. On the agenda, a review of the June 2018 Do It for Dads ATV Rally. It was a success. Our Trail Ambassador program continues to be very effective with healthy number of volunteers. We did have a deputation regarding concern for turtles nesting on various parts of the trail. The turtles' nesting habits from year to year, how deep the female lays her eggs, hatching of the eggs, and the erecting of special signage to protect sensitive areas of the trail have all come up for discussion, and I believe we'll be moving forward in partnership with local volunteers in association with experts who can properly guide us in this endeavor. Always on the agenda, of course, is trail maintenance, bridge repairs, financial statements accepted. And we did have some discussion about participating in the Ontario ATV One Province, One Pass initiative. This is in its infancy at this point. Should be more on this in the not too distant future. There is a Facebook page if anyone is looking to see what it is all about. Just go to Facebook and look for the Ontario ATV One Province, One Pass. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Sonia.
Good evening, everyone. I missed last council meeting. I was in Chicago with my family. It's kind of funny when you finally sell your tourism business, you can take a little bit of the summers off. The thing I brought back, so we went to Chicago, and my son fancies himself as an engineer, and we went on an architectural tour of Chicago. And what they did was, so everybody knows Lake Michigan's the jewel of Chicago, and there's a lot of similarities to Parry Sound. We take the bay sometimes for granted, but what they've done is the Chicago River is now they're calling it their second waterfront. There's development up and down the river banks, and when you develop a part of the riverbank, you must include a piece of the walkway that's turned into a parkette. So each section that's developed further the initiative of getting people to be able to walk along this fantastic waterfront. So I think that we had this amazing river running right through town. And I think it's somewhat taken for granted as well. So I do urge you to get on the fitness trail, go for a walk, take a look. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that July 27th is coming up. If you had any urges or any inclinations to do what we do for a living up here, now's the time to get it in. You must be in before July 27th. I must say it's been an absolute pleasure. It's an outstanding experience. You learn so much about your community, about other people, and more importantly about yourself. I highly advise, if you have any inclinations for it, do it. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, mine will be brief tonight as well. July 12th was the DSAB meeting, which was held here in Parry Sound. And two announcements, the one that Councilor Borneman mentioned, July 20th, Art in the Park starts. And also on July 20th, Festival of the Sound starts for its 3-week season. So hopefully get out and enjoy both, and on with the rest of our meeting. Okay, so ratifications of matters from the closed agenda. So 7.1, council provided direction to staff regarding a waterfront property. 7.2, council received an update on union negotiations. 7.3, national broadcast event, spokesperson was Rob Menz. And yes, okay, so we'll bring that bylaw through at this time. So it was moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier. That bylaw number 2018-6847 being a bylaw to approve the execution of a letter of intent between the town of Parry Sound and the SDI Marketing for Parry Sound to host a national broadcast event be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion? Well, Councillor Borneman?
I'm not, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Menz, either one of you can answer this. I take it at this point the town's not at liberty to make an announcement. That'll be forthcoming with the SDI are prepared to tell the public what they're up to here.
Yeah, you're correct. I wish we were able to say something, but we can't until we have their full cooperation on this national event. But we just have to wait until they come here or whatever, give the nod. So anyway, you're welcome. Anything else? All in favor? And that's carried. And then there was 7.4 was the contract for the position of Chief Administrative Officer for the town of Parry Sound, which is a bylaw. Bylaw number 2018-6842. And that's moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2018-6842 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an employment agreement with Clayton Harris for the position of CAO for the town of Parry Sound commencing October 9th, 2018 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor Marshall. That the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Yep. So I have a media release to read, and it will be sent to our different media locations for their disbursement. So on behalf of council, I'm pleased to announce the appointment of Clayton Harris as the new Chief Administrative Officer, CAO, for the town of Parry Sound. Mr. Harris brings several years senior leadership experience in both the private and public sectors and has held progressively more responsible positions including 7 years in the office of city manager for the city of Vaughan. Mr. Harris is a chartered professional accountant, CPA, with 10 years in the private sector and over 25 years of senior leadership experience in municipal government settings, including Commissioner of Finance and Corporate Services / Treasurer, Deputy City Manager, and City Manager, as well as significant experience in the local utility industry as the President and CEO of Bond Holdings Incorporated. Delivering quality services, providing professional advice to council, and managing relationships and expectations with internal and external stakeholders were key aspects of his responsibilities. He has significant experience creating alignment between council's vision and the administration, and in cultivating the environment that encourages innovation and embraces change that is sustainable. In addition to Mr. Harris's professional credentials, he brings a personal commitment and knowledge of the town and the surrounding area. Mr. Harris was born and raised in Parry Sound. He has returned to vacation here for several years and has recently moved back to Parry Sound, the Parry Sound community with his wife, Anna Marie. Their children are frequent visitors to Parry Sound and enjoy all areas the area has to offer. Mr. Harris will be assuming his responsibilities with the town effective October 9th, 2018, following the retirement of the town's current CIO, Mr. Rob Enns, who will be retiring after 21 years of service with the town of Parry Sound. So that will go out to the media for their records. Okay. Yep. Thank you. So, moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann. Whereas Public Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada and the United States from September 23rd to the 29th, 2018. And whereas where it is in the public interest to raise citizens' awareness on reducing avoidable accidents, injuries, and damage caused by collisions at level crossings or incidents involving trains and citizens, and whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the rail industry, governments, police services, media, and other agencies, and the public to raise rail safety awareness. And whereas CN has requested Town Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing effort to save lives and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Parry Sound support this initiative by declaring the week of September 23rd to the 29th, 2018 to be National Public Rail Safety Week. I am going to make a comment before I ask for anyone else because I witnessed something today that was an act of sheer, and I'm going to use the word, stupidity. I was sitting waiting for the train at the bottom of Cascade Street, and the arms came down, the lights came on, the arms came down, and I could hear the train blowing its whistle. It was coming around the corner. This car began to navigate between the arms and work its way around, okay, to come through, and the train was really blowing its whistle at that particular time. And I thought for sure it was going to happen. It was a matter of just sheer seconds that that car got out from in between the arms, okay, and came down the hill. And it wasn't like they were moving fast, it was really slow. And I looked at it, and when I finally, when the train, it was a passenger train too, like, finally when the train cleared and the arms came up and I went across, there was a fellow videotaping, because some people do videotape the trains as they go by. And so I pulled over and I stopped and I said to him, "Did you actually see that?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I got it on film." And he says, "I thought for sure," he says, "I was going to witness a horrific accident." Public awareness is great, but I tell you, when there are people that do things like that, I tell you, my heart was in my mouth, because it was just something that could have happened in a split second, and all the preventions that were there were in place and working. Anyway, Councillor Borneman, I think you had your hand up.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, but so and I've had to rethink what I was gonna say. I guess it's more out of good luck than good management that we haven't had any incidents or any serious incidents here for some time. Think back a number of years where we had a number of tragedies and a couple of fatalities on the railway tracks locally. And when CN and CP started this initiative, they would often send people here for specific exercises, and the local OPP were involved. So the question is, are there any local activities planned that we know of? And whether or not there are, I think we should be asking these folks for a summary of what they've been up to. Back to your point for a second, Mr. Mayor, I think that clearly puts the onus on pedestrians and motorists and bicyclists. The train isn't going to stop. The train cannot stop. Laws of physics will not allow it to stop. You know, the rest of us need to exercise some caution and some common sense around the track.
Yep.
So could we ask them for some sort of summary of what they've done locally and beyond when this is finished?
Mr. Brown, you'll ask? Okay, super. Thank you. Yeah. Were there any further questions, comments? No? Okay, all in favor? Oh, Councillor Keith. And
Yes, I was just going to say, I was thinking along the same line of Councillor Borneman, but what I would also be suggesting is when Mr. Brown is inquiring, if they are not really doing something in Parry Sound, perhaps we can look at next year some sort of partnershiping so that they are specifically doing something in Parry Sound, because I think education is important, and I think they need to be out there and see this and hear this. And as for the other issue of somebody videotaping such bizarre behavior, perhaps that person might be taking that to the OPP, because I think this is ridiculous, and I think that at the least there should be an examination here as to whether or not there should be charges laid, because this is just terrible.
I did ask the gentleman if he would do that. So whether he does or not, I don't know, but that person, if they see this or whatever or hear about it, please take it to the OPP or CN police, because yeah, I tell you, it was I thought it was going to be toast there for Yeah, I know. That's right. Yeah. But at that particular time, there were no arms or anything. This was a literal going around the arms to get through, and it was... Anyway, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next item. No? Okay. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier that consent application B18 2018 PS Solitude Investment Incorporated be supported. Discussion? Councillor Borneman?
Mr. Algie's here tonight, so perhaps he can inform the public what we're up to here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is just a consent application to sever an easement to provide water, sewer, and I believe bell and hydro services to the Georgia Bay Airways building. It got caught during the building permit process that they didn't have an easement, and they really should for their own interests. Well, sorry, the easement they did have, the services weren't underneath that, so they were in a different spot. So it's just a bit of housekeeping on their end.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor Marshall, that Nicole Mullins, Stocky Center Programming and Events Manager, and Caitlin Dyer, Bobby Orr Hall of Fame Curator, be as designated signing authorities for the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame Reserve Fund. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried.
Yes.
Yep. So moved by Councillor Saunier, second by Councillor Keith, that council authorizes the manager of water systems to attend the 2018 Suez Ultrafiltration Users Group Conference to be held in Knoxville, Tennessee, September 16th to the 18th, 2018. Further to bylaw 2002-4549, which requires prior council approval for attendance at seminars, conferences, and conventions outside the province of Ontario. Discussion. Councillor Keith.
Yes, Mr. Brown, when was the last time that a manager went to a conference of this nature? Is it annually or biannually or what?
Through your worship, this is an annual event. You might be confused by the title Suez Ultrafiltration. It's been purchased by this particular company, but it was it's the Z-Weed. It's the group that we've always sent the manager on this particular conference annually.
As a result of that, the information that is gleaned, what happens?
Through your worship, this particular conference is, whenever he comes back from this, he brings new ideas, innovative ideas, further education for the staff that are at the water plant with regards to this type of filtration system. It also allows him to see what's coming up, what's next as far as the future of the filtration type system that we have in Parry Sound. So it's a very good conference for him to go to and to learn and to better educate himself with the equipment and with the system that's out there.
Anything further? Nope. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Marshall and second by Councillor McCann that council accept the tender from Georgian Chevrolet Buick GMC for a 2019 GMC 2500 HD in the amount of $57,912.50, including taxes, delivery, and the trade-in of a 2012 F-250, this being the only tender received. Discussion. Councillor Borneman.
Mr. Brown, when we're purchasing vehicles like this, how widely are those tenders distributed?
Through your worship, typically we send these tenders directly to local bidders, and we also put them on the internet, so on our website. So they are distributed all over the place. Everybody can pick them up, and we've had inquiries from all over Ontario in the past doing exactly the same thing.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier that bylaw number 2018-6848 being a bylaw to execute an encroachment agreement between St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church and the town of Parry Sound be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. So, there are some amendments that need to be made within this bylaw. And the first one is on page 1. And Seguin Street, encroachment on Seguin Street should be changed to Church Street. And then in the agreement, it should also be changed to, and from Seguin Street to Church Street. Which is basically the same thing on those. So may I have a mover and seconder for those changes? Councillor Keith and Councillor Marshall. Any discussion on those amendments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Any discussion on the bylaw as amended? All in favor? And that's carried. Should I write here on it as amended? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2018-6849, being a bylaw to adopt the employee training and development policy and to repeal bylaw 90-3443, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Perhaps Mr. Menz can just explain what the purpose of this training, the bylaw is here, why we're updating it, please.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, as you had mentioned, Mr. Mayor, it's repealing bylaw number 90 as in 1990. So this is, the original one was 28 years old, give or take. So much has changed in the training and development world. This is much more progressive. It defines what we will do for staff in various positions based on their career plans and the town's needs relative to moving around within the corporation. So it's very clear what, for the employees, what they can expect from the town in terms of support relative to development plans. So it's not just for management, it's for all employees throughout the whole organization. It's been some months in the making, and we think it's a pretty good document that Rebecca ended up putting together. Rebecca being our HR coordinator.
Yes, follow up.
So my follow-up, how is your feeling in reference to this education plan and succession planning and trying to keep employees interested in staying with our corporation? How does that come into play with this bylaw?
Well, that's a pretty good question through you, Mr. Mayor. We have been working for several months on a comprehensive call it a succession plan. It's a talent management strategy, which we identify opportunities and we identify staff and try to align those opportunities. And again, not just for, it's for primarily management positions, but this training and development plan is for all positions. So it's looking to the future of the corporation as best as we can, seeing what those opportunities are. And we do have designated programs depending on what an employee's interest is in certain positions. And given an alignment between what the opportunities are down the road, I really don't feel comfortable giving examples because we're talking about individual employees, but we've done that. We've gone through each and every management non-union position that we have, and in some cases to frontline employees that are in the bargaining group. We've identified key staff that as high potential employees. We're having conversations to see, again, trying to align what their interest is relative to those opportunities so that we can retain the staff that we identify as high potentials. So what this does is lay out fairly clearly what support we will provide for employees to help them through their development plans, through their career objectives.
Okay. Any further questions? No? Okay. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Saunier, that bylaw number 2018-6850 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Saunier, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Sequin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, August 14th, 2018 at 7 p.m. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices prior to a council meeting. The public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search council calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive the combined agenda by email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meetings on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV will continue to air the regular Parry Sound council meetings on Saturday only at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. For Your TV listings, contact www.yourtv.tv, and don't forget to ensure that you're on the municipal voters list for the upcoming municipal election. Go to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation's MPAC site, www.voterlookup.ca, to check or make changes. This online list is available until July 19th, 2018. After September 4th, you'll have to attend the municipal office with proper ID to get on the list or make changes. I did mine today and everything worked fine. So thank you everyone and have a good night.